I'll be totally honest. In my head, this made a lot more sense. I'm here now, and it makes a lot less sense. I was in a really good mood, and then I got stuck in 20 minutes of dead stop traffic to get here. So now I'm in a bit of a time crunch, and the gates to this park close. I don't even know when. Hopefully not while I'm here, because it told me I would get locked in. So I'm just gonna shake it off because I had a plan for this. I had a bit of a motive for this. Okay, the reason we're out in the woodlands right now is because I kind of wanted to go on a side quest. Okay, I didn't want to sit in my room. I worked all day. I wanted to be outside. It's summertime. If you can't tell, it looks really pretty outside. It's super bright, super nice, and I just didn't want to record this in my room. Other reason I'm doing this in the car is because I want today to be a little bit more of a chill podcast episode. And that's because I've been gone for a good amount of time. And I just feel like it suits kind of the topic today. Typically, when I do my podcast episodes, I script everything out and then I read from it. This is not going to be like that because it's more of a chat. It's more of a catch up with an intentional purpose, which I will get to. I'm going to try and not get distracted by the birds flying around me right now. For audio listeners and video listeners, because you can't see what's in front of me, I'm just looking at these beautiful trees and mountains, and it's very distracting. So I might be learning my lesson here in real time not to record where there is so many distractions. But the moral of today's podcast is something that I want to get into because some of these videos and probably podcast episodes that will follow today's episode will have something to do with this. Months back, probably in April or March, I had a really good conversation with one of my best friends, and she kind of just challenged me on a lot of things that I probably needed to hear. And it wasn't in any negative way. It was kind of just her challenging the negative beliefs that I have about myself. And what that conversation led me to eventually was the fact that I live my life in these extreme mindsets. And I mean that in the sense that I live by these extreme notions of no, I could never do that. I think the conversation opened up my eyes to the fact that that's my initial response to anything that seems slightly hard or different than what I'm used to. And it kind of made me realize how many things I do simply just because I'm comfortable doing them, and how many things I don't experience because I'm not comfortable with them. And this isn't necessarily groundbreaking information, but I think being able to put a word to it, like extreme thinking, really changed the way that I saw myself and the way that I viewed the decisions that I was making. That conversation turned into a larger conversation about me possibly making a choice that would change a lot of my life for about a year. And I'm going to leave you hanging on that, and eventually we'll talk about it. But right now, it can't be shared. But it's a positive thing, and that's all I'll say. Something I will share with you that came out of that conversation, though, the more I notice the extreme thinking in myself, the more I see my friends thinking the same things about themselves and stopping themselves from pursuing things just because they're scared. And I think a lot of the times we think the worst thing that can happen is failure, but failure is not the worst thing that can happen, and life moves on after you fail. I think in my head I have this idea that life stops. It doesn't. It will continue to move, and you will find a way to make things work, and you will be fine. And I just kind of wanted to come on here, talk about this, get it out in the open so that we can all be on the same page. And if this is something that you're feeling, then hopefully I can help you feel not so bad about it. So the other thing that came out of this conversation was this idea of me putting myself through exposure therapy on my own will. People are coming to their cars now, and it's making me really anxious. I thought I could do this in public. Okay, this is actually perfect. Okay, this is some more exposure therapy. Okay, I'm gonna lock in, guys. Lock in. It's totally fine. It's totally normal. Yes, I have a microphone in my car. And so what? And so what? Okay, this is live exposure therapy, you guys. This is really important for you to see. You can see how I just shut down, but it's okay because we're fine and we're going to be fine and it's all going to be fine. So, back to this conversation of exposure therapy. I made a joke to her and I was like, maybe I need exposure therapy. And then the next day when I was thinking about our conversation, I was just thinking about that more seriously and thinking, well, why not? Why can't I do self-exposure therapy? Like, there's plenty of things that I would love to do that I feel like I cannot do. For instance, doing things alone. Now, I try to do things alone, and I'm not completely uncomfortable with it, but there's always a piece of anxiety that comes with it for me. So I took that idea and I started really, really small. And by really small, I mean I went to pick up a car part without my dad. And that was the first step in exposure therapy because I did not want to do that. I did not want to do that. I had never done that, but I knew that I could do it. So I did it. The other thing that I did was go to a Fontaine show by myself. This wasn't my first solo concert. This was the second one. And as you can see, I have the merch on. That was genuinely the best concert I may have ever been to. It's hard to say that because I've been to some really good concerts and seen some bands that are really good. Bands that I love a lot. But I think what made this concert so good was a combination of so many different aspects. For one, they're fantastic. Them alone might be one of the best live bands I have ever seen. Secondly, aside from the music, it was so fun. I had a great experience with the crowd. I felt very comfortable. Third, I kind of had a breakthrough moment for myself that night. I don't know how to say this without it coming across as very cringy, but as they were performing Boys in the Better Land and I was looking around at everyone jumping and I was jumping with everyone, I was only thinking about myself. I wasn't thinking about if my friends were having a good time. I wasn't concerned if I was being too outgoing in that space because it was just so perfectly created for everyone just to feel like they could be themselves. And I found myself just jumping along, like jumping and screaming like a teenage girl in a movie. Not screaming in an annoying way, like screaming the words, whatever. And I kind of had this moment in my mind where I could not visually see myself from outside of my body, but could conceptualize what was happening. And it just kind of left me with this sense of, I love this. Like, I love my life. I love this feeling. And all of those things combined, I walked away from that feeling like I could do that again. And I think that's the most important lesson to take away from doing things when they seem hard, is that you walk out of that situation feeling confident in your abilities to do it again because you've done it. It's less hard to do now, which leads me into the second thing that I did. These are all fun things, by the way, so I'm not challenging myself like exceptionally hard, but the next thing I decided to do was take myself to a hockey game by myself. I love hockey. I think I've spoken maybe a couple times about hockey on here. It's not a hockey podcast, so I'm not going to talk about hockey all the time, but I got to take myself to a game, which is something that I've told myself I would do for about 2 years now, and I've simply never done it. Finally, this gave me a reason to go ahead and plan it, buy the ticket, go. I did all of that. I had a great time. It was totally fun. It was not weird at all. And it was just fine. And I think that's really important for me to learn, is that all of these things that I feel like are going to be weird when I do them by myself are always fine. Like, it's always fine. Which came to like a big light when I had this weird moment in a coffee shop 3 days ago, maybe 3 days ago. I went to a coffee shop to have a coffee. Obviously, it's a coffee shop. And this specific coffee shop has a photo booth, and I saw it, and I was just like, oh, I've seen some of those girls on Pinterest in their photo booth pictures, and they're by themselves, and it's always really cute. And I was kind of like, well, I don't really have a reason to have photos of myself. Like, I don't need that. Like, why would I need that? But then I kind of was like, well, it's kind of fun. Like, it just looks cute. I'm not going to post it anywhere, but maybe I want this. And then as I was sitting there trying to read my book, I kept worrying about this anxiety of, you need to go take those pictures, because now you feel like you can't go take those pictures because you're going to have to do it alone, and people are going to watch you go into the photo booth alone. And I started over dramatizing this whole experience so much in my head that I was trying to talk myself out of going to take photo booth pictures by myself. Now, in hindsight, is this a big deal? Absolutely not. But this is the breakdown of what goes through my head, okay? Like, I get stuck on this idea that that's so weird, that someone's going to see you and go, why are they going in there by themselves? That's a really weird thing to do. Now, if I saw anyone else do this, would it be weird? No, it absolutely would not be weird. And I think that that's the shame in the way that we perceive ourselves. Guys, I'm sorry, I'm never going to stop talking about perception or time or either of them. So just bear with me. We only perceive ourselves through our own eyes. I don't know how to use the right word. Eyes is not the right thing. But we cannot perceive ourselves through random people or friends or family. Yet we look at them and all we see is love and joy and peace and beautiful things, but quite often they cannot see that in themselves, just as we cannot always see that in ourselves. There is some type of block that we put up, and I think all of us do it to an extent. There's some of us clearly that do it more than others, because I almost didn't go into a photo booth by myself because I thought it was weird. But I did it, and I walked away from there feeling like I could do more than I thought I could. I proved my initial thought of I could never do that wrong. And I really wanted to talk about this because I'm doing something really, really exciting in a couple weeks that will be a video, but I'm not going to tell you what it is right now because I'm going to wait. Sorry, I'm being so secretive this episode, but you will know very soon. It's not going to take a very long time, but just know I'm checking something off my bucket list, and I'm doing something that's completely insane for me. Like, completely insane. Like, I'm still sitting here going, I can't do that, but it's all in motion and it's going to happen, and I am going to do it. And I'm going to take you all along for the ride for it. And I hope that you show up and have a good time and take something out of it and take that belief along with you as well. I think the other thing I wanted to touch on in that conversation I had with my best friend is that she has always been someone that I look up to in terms of her strength and what she's accomplished in her life and her determination to do things for herself. And I don't mean that in a selfish way. I mean it in the sense of she pushes through all these hard feelings to get to a place where she can prove to herself that she can do it. And because of that, she's accomplished so many amazing things. And I've always seen this quality in her and always felt like it lacked in me. And because of that, looked up to her in a lot of ways. So when we were having this conversation, I said something along the lines of, well, I'm not you. And that kind of made me realize the way that I saw myself. And I kind of remember her being a little puzzled by what I meant by that. And then I ended up asking her, well, how do you do hard things? And she just said, I just plan them, and when they show up, I just do them. That kind of broke down this barrier for me when I looked at her. It made me realize that so many of these things she's doing, they're not easy for her. They're still hard for her. She's just finding the will in herself to work through them, to accomplish them. And while I might be a couple of steps behind, that's totally fine. But I have that same will that I can implement in my own life to move myself forward, to accomplish things as well. So that sentence really stuck with me, and it kind of became my motto when I was planning this event that's going to happen in 2 weeks. I quite literally set it all in motion, forgot about it, and now I'm getting to the point where I have to deal with it, and I'm going to have to do it. And again, it's going to be great. It's going to be positive. I'm really excited about it. I'm just a wee bit overwhelmed. But yeah, I feel like this conversation is really important to have because I felt myself becoming really, really stagnant in my own life. And it's really hard when you get stuck. I think we think life is easier by avoiding difficult things, but it's hard. There's a quote that people often use with working out, and it's choose your hard. And it's kind of a little bit blunt as it is meant to be blunt. But I think the more life you live, the more you realize that that's true and can be applied to many, many things. It's hard to have a good outlook on life, but it's also hard to have a negative outlook on life. It's hard to hope for things and then miss out on things when they don't happen, but it's also hard to not hope for anything. And I think when you have the opportunity in front of you to choose which way you're going to look at life, as hard as it is to always choose the good, it's important to. And I think I learn that more and more every single day. I think that's all for the yap session. I think it's genuinely so fun to sit here and just talk. Actually, there's one more thing I want to note before I end today's episode. There is a lyric at the beginning of a Mumford & Sons song that just came out a few months ago, and it came out very close in time to when I was having this conversation, or maybe it didn't. Maybe I just heard it close to that time that I was having this conversation, but it's called Malibu, and I can't pull up the lyrics right now, but he starts off the song saying, "All my doubt, all my weakness, can you lead?" And when I heard that, it kind of washed over me and became a very good reminder to me that all my weaknesses that I see, all of these reasons that I tell myself I cannot do that, or I couldn't accomplish that, or I shouldn't start that, I can let them go ahead and go first, and then I can work through them and I can get to the other side. I don't know if I can figure out the right words in this moment to say what that line has meant to me, but it has allowed me to hold space. I wish I had a different sentence for that because it's so overused, but it's allowed me to create a place in my heart to be gentle, to be kind, to be slow, to be okay with the fact that I'm anxious about certain things and they take me some time to get to the point where I feel like I can do them. But just because that's the case doesn't mean I should stop myself from trying to do them. I just wanted to share that because this is also a music podcast. And I think that we can use music to navigate these situations that don't feel clear to us. Quite often, music is that added perspective that we can't initially see ourselves. And we need that added perspective because we're not always right. And that's a really good thing. It's a really good thing that you're not always right, because if you were always right, you'd probably stop yourself from doing a lot of really wonderful things. So, with that, I will leave this episode. I think I'm going to try and do one more episode sort of about this topic, a little bit more, not specifically about it. It's going to be more music in depth, but not album analysis. Just about trusting yourself through past music and things that you once loved and how making those connections again can be really beneficial. I have it sort of written out. I need to finish it, but I'm hoping that that will come out before any of my larger videos come out, but keep an eye out for that on the YouTube channel. They will be out at the end of July, early August. But with that, I hope that you got something out of today's episode. Go challenge yourself to do something alone, even if that's just going to the library by yourself or going for a walk by yourself. There is so much freedom in challenging your initial beliefs about yourself to prove yourself wrong. And I think if we started to do that more, we would see that we're capable of much, much more than we initially think that we are. Let's let music bring us together, and don't forget to grow up slowly.